Hey everyone, and welcome to a special deep dive
Mm.
made just for all you Vintage Car Chronicles listeners.
Yeah.
We thought we'd switch gears a bit today and really get into the weeds with one particular car,
Mm-hmm.
the Dodge Lancer. And I gotta say, this isn't your typical model with, a straightforward history.
Oh no.
The Lancer name kind of pops up and then vanishes, then reappears throughout automotive history.
It's true. It's really quite strange.
It's almost like a phantom.
Yeah, like a
And to guide us on this journey,
yeah.
we've got some great historical overviews to draw on.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, a really captivating look at a, pristine 1961 Lancer that somebody just found.
Oh wow.
Talk about a time capsule, right?
Yeah.
So the question is, why did this car keep coming back only to fade away again?
Right.
What made this particular 61 model so special?
Hmm.
Well, let's find out.
Well, what's so fascinating about the Lancer is that we're not even looking at like a single model that evolved over time. It's more like we're encountering three different cars that just happen to share the same name.
Oh, wow.
And each one kind of reflects like the trends and design philosophies of its own era.
It's like a band reuniting decades later with a totally new lineup.
Exactly.
Same name, completely different sound.
Mm.
To understand this journey, I guess we got to start back in the mid-1950s, right?
Absolutely go back to like the Eisenhower era.
Yeah.
Rock and roll's on the rise.
Yeah.
America is just in love with bigger, bolder, better, everything.
Everything.
You know what I mean? And cars were no exception.
Right.
So picture those like massive land yachts with chrome everywhere and tail fins that are like defying gravity.
The era of chrome and tail fins.
Yes.
But wait, our first Lancer wasn't some, flashy, sporty coupe.
Nope.
It was all about luxury, wasn't it?
Yeah, luxury all the way from 1955 to 1959.
Okay.
The Lancer name was basically reserved for the hardtop models in Dodge's full-size lines.
Oh, interesting.
So you had the Coronet Royal and Custom Royal.
So they were big cruisers designed to make a statement.
Yeah, they were meant to stand out,
Yeah.
Imagine plush interiors, padded dashboards, even those swivel seats.
Talk about riding in style.
Oh, yeah, and I bet they didn't skimp on the engines either.
Oh, I was just going to ask about that.
Oh, absolutely not. We're talking some serious V8s.
Uh-huh.
Like the powerful 383 cubic inch option.
Whoa.
In the Super D500, that's 340 horsepower.
They sound like muscle cars in disguise.
They kind of were, yeah.
So this first Lancer was only made for 5 years.
Right.
They only made about 11,000 of them.
Yeah, just over that.
So why the short run did people stop wanting these big, luxurious cars?
Well, that's the million-dollar question,
Yeah.
It seems like the market shifted faster than Dodge expected.
Okay.
By the early 60s, fuel efficiency and affordability became major concerns.
Yeah, those big gas guzzlers probably weren't so popular anymore.
No, they weren't. Plus, consumer tastes were changing, too.
Right.
This new youth market was emerging, and they wanted something different.
Oh,
They
yeah.
craved smaller, sportier, more economical cars.
Which brings us to Act 2 of the Lancer story.
Yeah.
The compact Lancer of 1961. What a shift.
I know, right? From those big, luxurious cruisers to...
Totally different.
It's like they traded their instruments for electric guitars.
I like that analogy.
Now, Dodge needed an answer to the Plymouth Valiant.
Oh, yeah, that was a huge hit, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. A compact car taking the market by storm.
So did they design a whole new car from scratch?
Well, not exactly. Remember that pristine 61 Lancer we mentioned?
Yeah.
That car gives us a clue.
Okay.
The 1961 Lancer was basically a rebadged Plymouth Valiant,
Really?
sharing its platform and most of its mechanicals. But they did give it some styling tweaks to set it apart.
Like what?
We'll think round tail lights and a full-width grille for a more upscale look.
So it was like a sibling rivalry playing out in the showroom.
You could say that.
But even if it was a Valiant underneath, did the Lancer manage to create its own identity?
That's where things get interesting. There was this 1961 owner survey published in Popular Mechanics, and it revealed that Lancer owners were incredibly happy with their cars. They praised the handling, the ride, the power, the styling.
So maybe being a rebadged Valiant wasn't such a bad thing.
It seems that way.
But they did offer some exciting engine options, did they?
Oh, yeah.
Something about a hyper pack.
Yes, the base engine was a 170 cubic inch slant six.
Okay.
But you could opt for the larger 225 cubic inch version.
Okay.
And here's the kicker. Both engines could be equipped with a dealer-installed HyperPack performance kit.
What exactly was that?
This wasn't just a simple tune-up.
No.
We're talking a hotter camshaft, a new carburetor,
Yeah.
a special exhaust manifold.
So you could take this ordinary compact car and turn it into a serious contender.
Yeah, maybe even surprise a few folks at the drag strip.
I love it. So with this hyper pack,
Yeah.
The 170 cubic inch engine could crank out 148 horsepower,
Uh-huh.
while the 225 jumped to an impressive 196 horsepower.
That's right.
And speaking of drag racing,
Yeah?
was there a custom-built Golden Lancer?
Oh, yeah. That was heavily modified with a massive 413 cubic inch Chrysler V8.
A compact Lancer with a V8.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow, they really weren't messing around.
No, they were serious.
Makes you wonder what might have been if the Lancer had more time to shine.
It does, doesn't it?
But sadly, even with the performance potential and good owner feedback,
Yeah,
the Lancer couldn't match the sales of the Valiant.
unfortunately not.
It's tough to beat the original, I guess.
Yeah, especially when you're offering basically the same car with a different badge.
So what happened next? Did the Lancer name just fade away?
Well, in 1963, the Lancer was discontinued, and Dodge introduced a new compact called the Dart.
The Dart, okay.
But the Lancer name wasn't gone for good. Like
Oh.
a phoenix from the ashes, it would reappear in a completely unexpected form in the 1980s.
The 80s, big hair, neon colors, a whole new wave of car design.
It was a wild time.
I have a feeling this next Lancer is going to be vastly different.
Oh, you have no idea. Get ready for sharp angles, front-wheel drive, and a whole new focus on performance.
This is going to be good,
It is.
but we'll have to save that for next time.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so let's rewind back to the mid-50s. You know, Eisenhower's in the White House, rock and roll's taking over, and the American dream is all about big houses, big families, and of course, big cars.
Oh, yeah, those classic land yachts.
Exactly, cars that stretched almost as long as a small boat gleaming with chrome and those tail fins.
They were huge, weren't they?
Oh, yeah, they were designed to make a statement. You know, luxury optimism, boundless possibility.
And our first Lancer was right in the thick of it, but remember, it wasn't a standalone model, right?
Right. It was the designation for the hardtop versions of Dodge's full-size cars, the Coronet Royal and Custom Royal.
So basically two-door versions, but with that sleek, pillarless design.
Exactly. Long flowing lines, wraparound windshields, massive rear windows. You could see everything as you cruise down the highway.
Sounds like they were rolling works of art, but I bet they didn't skimp on the engines.
Oh, absolutely not. We're talking Chrysler's legendary firepower V8 engines.
Those were powerful, weren't they?
Oh, yeah. The Custom Royal Lancer came standard with a 361 cubic inch V8.
Wow.
305 horsepower.
More than a lot of sports cars today.
I know, right? And if you wanted even more oomph, you could get the D500 package.
Okay.
That bumped you up to a 383 cubic inch V8 with 320 horsepower.
And there was an even more powerful version.
Well, yeah, the Super D500 with dual 4-barrel carburetors.
Oh, wow.
340 horsepower.
These Lancers were practically muscle cars in disguise.
Yeah, they really were.
What a thrill that must have been to drive.
Imagine yourself behind the wheel cruising down an open highway.
Yeah.
The wind in your hair, that V8 rumble.
It's like a scene from a classic movie.
Totally. But it wasn't just about power. These cars were also about luxurious comfort.
Oh, yeah. Especially the Custom Royal Lancer.
Yeah, plush, leather-trimmed seats. Some even swiveled outward to make it easier to get in and out.
How cool is that?
I know, right? Padded dashboards, dual radio antennas, power brakes.
Air conditioning.
Of course, a true luxury back then.
A rolling palace on wheels, but then they disappeared. What happened?
Well, a few things happened. For one, the market started shifting.
In what way?
People started caring more about fuel efficiency and affordability.
Makes sense those big V8s were probably gas guzzlers?
Yeah, and gas prices were going up.
Ouch.
Plus, there was this new youth market emerging.
The baby boomers.
Exactly. And they wanted something different, smaller, sportier, more fuel efficient.
So those big chrome-laden land yachts started to feel a bit outdated.
Yeah, you could say that.
So the first Lancer was kind of a victim of its own success.
In a way, yeah, it represented the peak of a certain era, but that era was coming to an end.
And then in 1961, the Lancer name came back.
Yes, but this time it was a completely different car. A compact.
A compact. What a change.
I know, right? Designed to compete in a whole new market.
And if I remember correctly, this 1961 Lancer was a prime example of what they called badge engineering.
You got it. Dodge took the Plymouth Valiant, which was already a popular compact, gave it a new name, some styling tweaks, and a slightly more upscale vibe.
Badge engineering was pretty common back then, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. It was a way for automakers to quickly expand their lineups without having to design a whole new car.
Smart.
So the 61 Lancer wasn't totally original, but it was a clever way for Dodge to jump into the compact car market.
And they did make some styling changes to give it its own look.
Right. They swapped out the Valiant's squared-off taillights for round ones.
Okay.
and they gave it that full-width grille.
So it looked a little more refined than the Valiant.
Exactly. And remember that owner survey we talked
Our
about?
Lancer owners were really happy.
Exactly. Shows that Dodge knew what they were doing.
It's interesting that a rebadged car could still have such a good reputation.
It's all about design and marketing, even though it's shared a lot with the Valiant. It had its own personality.
And let's not forget the engine options.
Oh, yeah.
They offered some pretty interesting powertrains for the 61 Lancer.
The base engine was the 170 cubic inch Slant 6.
Reliable and fuel efficient.
But if you wanted more power, there was the 225 cubic inch version.
And then there's the Hyperpack option.
Ah, yes, the Hyperpack.
What exactly was in that?
This was a serious performance upgrade.
Okay, tell me more.
We're talking a high-performance camshaft, a new carburetor, a special exhaust manifold.
They really went all out.
It wasn't just about adding horsepower, it was about making the engine breathe better, perform better.
And what kind of results did they get?
Well, with the Hyperpack, the 170 cubic inch engine could make 148 horsepower.
Not bad.
And the 225 could hit 196 horsepower.
That's pretty impressive for a compact car.
Right, it could hold its own on the street, or even the drag strip.
And speaking of the drag strip, what about that Golden Lancer we mentioned?
Oh yeah, the custom-built drag racer with the 413 cubic inch Chrysler V8.
That thing was a beast.
It really was.
Makes you wonder what might have been if Dodge had really leaned into the Lancer's performance potential.
Yeah, what if they'd given it a totally unique identity from the beginning?
But sadly, it wasn't meant to be.
The Lancer was discontinued in '63, replaced by the Dodge Dart.
The Dart, another classic.
Maybe the Lancer was just overshadowed by the Valiant.
Or maybe it was just bad timing.
Who knows? But even though it was a short run, the 61 Lancer was a really cool car.
It definitely left its mark.
And then, of course, the Lancer name would come back again in the 80s.
A whole new era.
Sharp angles, front-wheel drive, turbocharged engines.
The Lancer was about to be reborn as a sporty hatchback.
And that's a story for next time.
I can't wait. Okay, so we're in the 80s now. Big hair synth music and a whole new wave of car design. And the Dodge Lancer makes a comeback.
That's right. It's like a chameleon, you know, adapting to this new environment.
Gone are the chrome and the curve.
Yeah, it's all about sharp angles, front-wheel drive, and a focus on performance.
So the Lancer becomes a hatchback.
A front-wheel drive hatchback.
Wow, that's a big change from those luxurious land yachts we talk about.
I know, right? A complete transformation.
So did they start from scratch with this one?
Well, remember, this was the era of platform sharing. Chrysler was really good at using what they already had.
Right.
So they actually based this Lancer on the Chrysler LeBaron GTS.
That sporty coupe.
Exactly. It was built on a stretched version of the Chrysler K platform.
Which was used for a ton of their cars.
Oh, yeah. Everything from family sedans to sporty coupes. It was super versatile.
So another rebadged Lancer. But I'm sure they didn't just stop there.
You're right. They made some styling changes to give it that Lancer look, you know?
Okay.
A more aggressive front end, a sportier profile. But the real story is under the hood.
This one was all about performance.
Absolutely. And to prove it, they introduced the Shelby Lancer.
Hold on, Shelby, as in Carroll Shelby, the racing legend.
The one and only. He was involved in developing the first batch of Shelby Lancers.
Get out of here.
Seriously, it's true. They were built in '87 limited production, only 800 made, and they were designed to be serious performance machines.
Okay, I'm all ears. Tell me everything.
Well, they took a regular Lancer and added sport-tuned suspension, stiffer springs, quicker steering, four-wheel disc brakes.
Wow.
And then they dropped in a turbocharged 2.2-liter engine, 175 horsepower.
A turbocharger in a hatchback in the 80s. That's pretty wild.
It was cutting edge, and the performance was impressive. They were hitting 60 miles per hour in about 7 to 8 seconds.
That's quick.
Yeah, for a car in its class, it was a proper hot hatch.
So a true Shelby creation, but didn't you say Chrysler built the Lancer?
Right, so it's kind of interesting. Shelby built the first 800 cars, and then Chrysler took over production for the 88 and 89 model years.
So they were built alongside the regular Lancers.
Exactly, like a factory-tuned performance option.
That's pretty cool. Did they keep all the Shelby upgrades?
Well, they kept the turbocharged engine that was the heart of the car.
Of course.
But they toned down some of the Shelby-specific parts, like the special shocks, and they offered it in more color.
To appeal to a wider audience.
Right, make it a little more mainstream.
It makes sense, but I bet it was still a blast to drive.
Oh, yeah. Zipping through traffic, that turbo spooling up, it must have been a thrill.
The Lancer reinvented yet again, from a luxury car to a compact to a hot hatch.
It's an incredible journey.
It really is.
Yeah.
But the story's not over yet. Chrysler tried to break into the European market with the Lancer, right?
That's right. They rebadged it as the Chrysler GTS. basically a modified Lancer ES to meet European regulations.
The Lancer goes international.
They had big ambitions, but unfortunately it didn't really work out.
It's not too bad.
The European market was tough. Even though the GTS had good performance and style, it didn't sell very well.
It seems like the Lancer was always just a little bit unlucky.
Maybe it was just overshadowed by its rivals.
But it definitely has a fascinating history full of twists and turns.
It's a reminder that not every car becomes a legend, but they all have stories to tell.
And let's not forget that pristine 1961 Lancer we talked about.
Oh yeah, that time capsule.
It's amazing to think that car survived all these years in such great condition.
It's a reminder that there are still hidden gems out there just waiting to be discovered.
Well said. Well, this has been a fascinating deep dive into the Dodge Lancer, a car that never stood still.
It was constantly evolving.
Thanks for joining us on this journey through automotive history.
Our pleasure.
And a huge thank you to all you Vintage Car Chronicles listeners out there for tuning in. Don't forget, we have a new episode for you every day on Spotify, Deezer, Apple Music, and YouTube. So until next time, happy motoring.